Hi guys, it's Angie with Fun Endeavors Tie-Dye Lab. Today I'm going to make an ice-dyed geode shirt. This is a long sleeve shirt that has been washed and dried, soaked in a soda ash solution for at least 20 to 30 minutes. Then I wrung it out of my Panda spin dryer and so it's just barely damp. I've also turned the shirt inside out. To begin a geode, I'm finding where I'd like the center of my geode to be, pinching that area of the shirt. Then I'm going to slide my hand down to where I'd like the bottom of the geode to be, and that's where I'm going to start tying. I personally like to tie my geodes starting at the bottom, going out to the center. I'm using artificial sinew to tie my geodes with. The artificial sinew is wax coated, so each place where I tie a line of sinew and tighten it down really tight, that area will be white underneath that line. When I tie my geodes, I'm adding various amounts of sinew lines in each geode, and I'm also varying the width or the distance between each line. I want to try to keep these as natural looking as possible, and so I'd like them to be a little bit more random. You can also make your geodes as large as you'd like or as small as you'd like. You can put as many on a shirt as you want or as few on a shirt as you want. How you tie your geode shirt is all about personal preference. I'm just continuing to add various geodes all over the shirt until I have the entire shirt tied up. Once the entire shirt is tied with geodes, I'm going to set it aside for several days and let it dry out really well. I find that it's easier to get good color saturation when the geodes are totally dry. Otherwise, the fabric is already full of soda ash solution, and it doesn't take the dye quite as well as it does when it's dry. As I've mentioned before, when I make a geode shirt, I like to look at nature and the color palette in nature for my geode inspiration. So for this geode shirt, I'm using green agate. The green agate sample that I looked at had varying shades of green and brown. So I've chosen a color palette that is close to the photo that I looked at. Before I begin applying the dye though, I am going to ice dye this one, so I need to make a barrier around my shirt to hold the ice onto the geodes. So I've placed my shirt on top of a rack, which I have inside of a container, a plastic tub or a plastic container, and I'm using some silicone cake molds. To hold the cake molds in place around my geodes, I'm going to use some clothespins. I'll put the silicone cake molds around the shirt and then put the clothespins on the rack to hold them in place. I have a link down in the description for the video of where I purchased the silicone cake molds. I also try to put links down in the description of all my videos for the colors of dye that I used, as well as where I purchased a lot of the tools that I use when I tie-dye. Okay, so now it's time to start applying the dye. You can apply the dye in many different ways to a geode shirt. For this one, I'm going to do this in just kind of a random pattern. I'm beginning with Sage from Dharma Trading Company. And like I mentioned, I'm just going to randomly place it on the shirt. Next, I'm using Dharma Trading Company's Forest Green. This is a larger shirt, and so I have several geodes which are kind of hidden down below. So I'm making sure I add plenty of dye, and when I get to it, I'm going to add plenty of ice too to make sure the dye gets all the way through to those other geodes. Wasabi from Dharma Trading Company. The fourth color is dark green from Pro Chemical and Dye. Khaki from Pro Chemical and Dye. And Camel from Pro Chemical and Dye. Now I'm going to add an additional sprinkle of dry soda ash over the top of my dye. I'm adding the dry soda ash because when I put the ice on the shirt and it runs through the dye in the shirt, I want to make sure there is still plenty of soda ash left inside my shirt to react with the dye. I don't want all of it to get washed out. Then I'm going to add the ice to my shirt. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to make sure I add plenty of ice to force as much of this dye through the shirt and get some of those geodes which are hiding underneath. Over the top, I'm going to add a sprinkle of ecru from Pro Chemical and Dye, and this is going to just fill in some of the blank spots and add a little bit of extra depth and dimension to the shirt. I set the shirt aside, came back after the first layer of ice melted and added another layer of ice, but I only added dye to this first side. Then I allowed the shirt to process for 48 hours before I rinsed it out. I rinsed the shirt, washed it in my washing machine in hot water using Dharma's textile detergent, dried it, and this is what our shirt looks like. I really like the way the shirt turned out. I like the earth tones, I like the greens mixed with the khaki, the camel, the ecru. I like all the color splits that came out of all these colors. Overall, I'm really pleased with this shirt. So hey, if you guys are enjoying watching these videos, I sure would appreciate it if you'd hit the big red subscribe button and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a great day.